Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on another episode of Fast Break here on IA Sports Radio, I want to introduce y'all to a couple of our sponsors. The Southern California Warriors Semi-Pro Football Team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play and host so different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film to try for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on the quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Wherever you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram, Southern California Warriors, and on Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Now on to the show. Well, since the finals have since concluded, congratulations to the Golden State Warriors on winning another championship in the fold. We'll discuss game analysis and what this means for the Golden State Warriors dynasty. Plus, we're looking on the other side of things. What does this mean for this young Boston team? Can they regroup? What should they do to improve their team to get back to this stage next season? Plus, Kenny Atkinson does a 180 on a Charlotte Hornets job and decides to stick around with the Warriors. What does that mean for the Hornets? Who should they go after next? And could this be like a telltale sign of something else behind the scenes going on with the Warriors? And draft talk. Drafted this week. We'll discuss and break down draft storylines, prospects, and whatnot on today's 100th episode of Fast Break here on IA Sports Radio. Your direct feed for the As All Sports, and you're welcome to join us. And joining us as you sound tonight, ladies and gentlemen, lots to talk about, lots to get into. The chat is already buzzing. Hello, guys. How y'all doing tonight? Happy Father's Day to y'all. Lots of things to get into. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
Doing pretty good, man. Another great weekend. Surprised that the series is actually over. Actually had it going, well, wanting it to go to 7, but that didn't happen. Also happy Father's Day to you as well, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's been a very warming day, I must say. And like I said, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out here, guys in the chat. Thank y'all for tuning in. Lots to discuss tonight, D-Lock. Shout out to the chat, Terry Rodriguez, Adam Karnick in the chat. Adam asking if she letting you sleep. Yes, she is. She is a great sleeper. We put her down about like 9 o'clock or so, and she sleeps until she wakes up till like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't have it any other way. But D-Lock, the NBA Finals concluded. The Warriors are NBA champs again. Let's just dive out into it. What are your thoughts when the Warriors won on Thursday, 103-90 to the Boston Celtics? What are your thoughts once that final buzzer sound Thursday?
Well, the first thing I thought about was Mark Jackson. I mean, he put together a great group. I think he deserves a little bit more credit than he has been given. I think he is known for what he's done with the group that he put together. He, drafted those guys, and they did a hell of a job. Now, with that being said, I also believe that the right amount of attention or respect is given to Steve Kerr. He has done an outstanding job with that. He's slowly creeping up into that, Mount Rushmore coaches in my mind. So for me, it's just amazing to see that. And then obviously the next thing I thought about was the MVP of the series. I actually, like I said, I wanted to go to 7 for many reasons because, basketball is one of the greatest sports to watch. Also, we'll be talking about the game right now on our 100th episode. But Steph wasn't having that. He came to play, played outstanding, and made a big difference for the Warriors. And that's the first thing that one of the first things that came to my mind is that because Steph could be possibly now creeping up into that top 5, top 10 range of players of all time. To play that great on a consistent, there's a few questions. And finally got his finals MVP, even though I believe he did deserve the one Iguodala got. But hell of a job by the Warriors. They went to Boston, as we know, is one of the hardest places to play, and closed out a series. Not just won a game, but closed out a series. So congratulations to the Warriors on that move. That was a hell of a thing. 4 rings, man.
Mm-hmm.
4. So that's we talk about LeBron getting his, now Steph has equal. So that's the first thing that definitely popped up in my mind.
I think for me, for Golden State winning this game, that second quarter, that 21-0 run, when they were just banking plays on the defensive side, driving the lane, making layups, hitting 3-point shots, you made Dakota take a timeout and stuff like that, trying to stop the bleeding. When that happened, I was like, Golden State ain't trying to mess around no more. They ain't trying to drag it to 7. They finally gonna put these boys away. A shout out to Terry Rodriguez. He had the Warriors in 6. He's very consistent on that from day one. When we talk about the start of the series, he was very consistent on that. But that 21-0 run was the icing on the cake. Yeah, Boston kind of brought it back within the single digits in that fourth quarter. But credit to this other player right here who really shined through, Andrew Wiggins. Played well all series here. We always ask the question, when will Andrew Wiggins arrive? All that stuff. He did his role. He did what he had to do. And he really showed that in this series. And when he hit that 3-point dagger in the fourth quarter, that's all she wrote. And
he played excellent too.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, we seen it with Kevin Durant, right? When he was there, you got to worry about Klay Thompson. You got to worry about Steph Curry. Guys on Splash Brothers, they can shoot, score them anytime they want from anywhere. And Kevin Durant just took advantage of that, getting those 1-on-1s or watching a double team between the other 2 players. But now we've seen the same thing with Andrew Wiggins. You had to watch out for Steph. You had to watch out for Klay Thompson now that he's somewhat back. So for me, I feel like that was a great benefit that he got. Also, the thing that we also seen from him is his defense. We talked about how Jason Tatum looked like a very good player against Milwaukee, very good player against Miami, or consistent when he needed it to be. We didn't see that at all with Tatum at all. And it's because, rightfully so, Andrew Wiggins played a hell of a series. I mean, the first game we thought, hell, maybe the reason why Tatum isn't going off like that is because Al Horford is just 6'8" 3-point land. Like, that's not going to happen every night. But one main reason that we see that happen is because Andrew Wiggins was playing some great ass defense. So, tip my hat off to Andrew Wiggins. Well, clearly, I think if Steph Curry wasn't playing lights out, Wiggins could have been an MVP candidate as well.
Yeah, he played great, in this series and really helped shoulder the load. But the main credit goes to Steph Curry. If it wasn't for his play, I think this Warriors team would have struggled. Because, yeah, despite Andrew Wiggins' strong play, Klay Thompson, there's like moments he was there. But other times on the court, it's like you're not bringing that to the table right now. Draymond, I mean, close to having triple double in that game, but in the rest of the series, and I criticize it here. Can you do something more offensively? In my eyes, Jordan Poole played pretty decent, but didn't have that one true explosive game that we have seen in the playoffs in the regular season. And Adam brought up a question, D-Lock, here. Why did we see so many lopsided games in the playoffs this year? Some series will be tight, but the games, outside of them tend to not be. That's a fair question. Some of these games weren't even close in this series. Some were lopsided. What you think about that right there, D-Lock?
Well, I think that's true. But I think that's what we've seen the gap into what teams were just a hell of a lot better than others. We talked about the Bulls for the longest. They looked, pretty decent during the season, and then next thing you know, they just a couple injuries here and there, and now they just look like a totally different team. I think that played a huge part. So some of these teams, I mean, we talked about. I told you about Memphis. For me, I didn't really trust Memphis because of their age, being that young. And I just felt like they weren't going to be as good as what we've seen all year long. And so I think that some of these lopsided, games that we've seen also was because just some teams just weren't on the same level. Like, I feel like the Warriors were just so much better than most of the teams on the West. So it wasn't, necessarily. I mean, we were talking about the Timberwolves being in the playoffs, and as much as I said they should be pretty good, I don't think that they really can compete with the Suns or the Warriors. So I feel like a lot of that was based off of talent-wise. Some teams are just better. So much better. So I think that played a huge part. The East was kind of, a pretty decent game, or pretty decent series, playoff series throughout them all. And I feel like, prime example, Boston, right? We would see them look good one game, look terrible the next game, and then Jason Tatum would just play great the next game. Marcus Smart really didn't show up at all too much in the series to me, in my opinion. For him to be defensive player of the year, we didn't really see too much of that going against a shooter like a Steph. But I think that also one reason is they haven't gone every damn where, man. Like it didn't have so many players. So for me, I just felt like it was main reason is it's just the fact that you had teams that just was a hell of a lot better. I'm pretty sure if you talk to a lot of writers and other people, they'll tell you that they had the Warriors being one of those teams that were going to contend for a title or probably even win the title. So for me, I think that was the biggest difference. The main difference is the fact that some teams just weren't like on the same level majority of the time. Some of them teams, I mean, we've seen the Pelicans go at it in the playoffs as well. So I think that's the main reason that we've seen some of these lopsided games.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just like injuries play a part of things, poor game planning. Some of these teams not being consistent of what they did well against certain teams and certain matchups that they have some of these teams kind of hang around more than they should. So, I'll use Boston for example. They're better than some of these teams, and you know didn't exactly bowl a lot of teams out in some cases, and didn't take advantage of some of the teams like they should. Yeah, granted, yeah, they beat Brooklyn, sweep them, whatnot. But if you look at the box score, all those games are close. The Milwaukee series, yes, no Chris Middleton, but yeah, Giannis in the fold. But I felt like you should take more advantage of that with Chris Middleton at the way. Heat series, I thought they were the better team, the more healthier team, and they didn't take advantage of that. They let Miami kind of hang around more than they should. And then the lopsided wins between both teams. Like, dang, why y'all keep going away that works for y'all? You know, Dallas and Phoenix, that blowout game 7 when Dallas is whooped on Phoenix. Why Phoenix allowed that lopsided game 7. I don't know. I mean, I know Dallas played that 5-out system, but still, you got guys that could defend the perimeter and stuff like that, like Crowder, Bridges, and others. But I don't know, Adam. I really can't say why. Just poor game planning, not sticking what you do well. Some of these teams thinking, okay, we'll just take a loss here and come back strong next game. Well, that next game, if you lose again, you put yourself in a hole.
Yeah, and that's what we seen that in the Warriors and the Mavericks series, right? And we'll talk about eventually, Christian Woodings getting traded over to Dallas, but that matchup was just not a matchup to really watch and just be like, this is going to be a hell of a series. This is what if you look at some of the matchups that we were literally going through. Now, to be honest with you, for me, I believe it started when Boston blew out Brooklyn. When they swept Brooklyn, I knew that this playoffs is going to be a little different than what we usually see. Now, granted, the whole Kyrie situation, cool. But I just was expecting more. So for me, when that started, I figured that this series and these playoff series are going to be a little bit different. We've seen a couple of shockers. Phoenix, one of the biggest shockers, of not getting to the Western Conference Final. But again, this is why they play the game.
Mm-hmm.
This is what makes it interesting. Everything was just so computerized, and you remember when COVID happened, and during that time they weren't having any games, so they had these simulated games that we were watching. I think basketball and football, where things would just happen based off the ratings and who the players were on the teams. Cool, we've seen that, but how that's not what makes sports so great. Um, Hell, because if that's the case, who knows if we see Milwaukee win this NBA Finals last year? So for me, we've seen a few blowouts, but what goes with those blowouts is surprises. We're gonna see some surprise when we've seen a few blowouts. The biggest, like I said, one of the biggest surprises is seeing. First of all, starting off with a surprise of Booker getting swept, and then another surprise was Dallas beating Phoenix. So now you leave that to the computer. We don't know if that happens. So, but I understand that we did see blowouts. I don't think it really did bad for the NBA season ranking ratings this year either. I think there were still a lot of people glued to the TV watching these games. In fact, I think it probably increased more people to watch. So, I know we as fans don't always want to see blowouts, especially in great competition and playoff wise and stuff like that. But it's gonna happen. It happens in every sport. We know that also well.
And I'll add this. I mean, if there's lopsided wins, but a dominant team, I think that's cool. Like if a team's just straight dominating in the playoffs, beating everybody down, to me, that lopsided games like that is fine because that team is asserting its dominance in the playoffs. You know, I think about the 0-1 Lakers just blown by everybody in the playoffs, and just, losing that one game against Philly. But other than that, they was just straight dominating everybody in the playoffs. Lopsided wins like that, you know, you hold to a candle. You hold to that to a high esteem. In this day and age, can somebody? I mean, can lopsided wins be cool? Yeah. It can be great in a sense. Yeah. But with some of these teams erratic play, I get where Adam's coming from, and I think the league, in a sense, kind of had to look at certain things, kind of tweak some things. Like, for example, I'll just throw this out here: the replay thing. Not every call or every other call should be going to the board, to the video. Not every hard foul is going to be a flagrant foul. The flopping, the hand checking, they got to figure some things out to kind of, make the game better, make the game flow of the game better, and hopefully, that will help, the casual viewer enjoy that game experience a little bit better.
Well, for me, I just I it made one thing is I think some of the changes that they've made, and we've seen it in other sports. They're making these changes because they hear a lot of you know fans talking about it, maybe coaches. Like I said, these different features they feel like can make a bigger impact on the game. Um, and I think it's going to change even more. Hell, I mean, at this point, we're not the same game that we were 30 years ago. You know, hell, even 10 years ago, 15. And this is the reason why Steph has made such an impact on the league. because now you got guys shooting from half court or practicing half court shots. And they're even, I don't know when, but just probably talking about it, just in the future, if it even happens, talking about making it a 4-point shot at some point. So they're trying to enhance this game, this NBA game that we love, to different things. But like you said, there's so much that they're doing. Some things could just be left, simple. But it's the sport alone is going to continue to evolve, and we're going to see it. And like we just said probably 10, 15 minutes ago, 10 to 15 minutes before the show, hell, the season just ended, and the NBA draft is coming up within 7 days. So they're already, plotting on that next season, getting fans ready for that next season. And they want to keep the fan base high. And I think that you do see a few blowouts and you're like, damn, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But I honestly feel like, man, listen, Boston beat Brooklyn. They swept Brooklyn 4-0. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who knew who Kevin Durant was, who probably didn't watch too much of the basketball, started to watch TV, but like, damn, Brooklyn got swept. Like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, they start thinking different things. So, I think that they gain more fans just for this, this season, moving forward. Especially now you've seen another season without a LeBron James in the NBA Finals. So I think that that alone and a few things that happened has made a big impact. But all in all, we're going to see some shockers. We're always going to see the hell. Think about when the Warriors went 72-12. Nobody would have thought that team would lose in the NBA Finals, and what happened. So, these are the stories that we can tell our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, of what we've seen, and to see, a few blowouts here or there. I honestly feel like the Mavericks will be a contender again soon. I think Luka's going to get there one day to the NBA Finals. Don't know exactly when, but I believe he will. But clearly, he has to face a top 10 player of all time in the West to get there for some years to come. So we're going to see different things, man. But like I said, at the end of the day, that's why we love watching the sport, because if we already knew it was going to happen, exactly how it's planned out, who was supposed to win, it wouldn't be as exciting.
And we'll leave it on that note there. Transitioning here. What this Steph Curry's, after this win, what's his legacy like in your eyes? 4 championships within 10 years, multiple finals appearances, 2 MVP trophies, 5 MVP, All-Star Game MVP, all the whole 9 yards, 3-point record, a galore. Where does Steph Curry rank in your eyes right now in the state of basketball?
Man, I've been watching people talk about this for a while. I think the one thing that really shocked me after it happened, out of all the finals that they've been to and won, this guy has never won an MVP till now. NBA Finals MVP. That was the biggest shocker thing to like. Just think about that. We're talking about one of the greatest, probably the greatest shooter of all time. He has never won an NBA Finals MVP until now. So I think that that's going to play a huge impact. But it's clear, man. Like, we'll talk about it next week for sure. And I hope our fans are listening. Please, you guys get a chance by next Sunday. I want you to write down top 10 NBA players of all time. Not in no particular order. Top 10 And I want to see how many people have Steve Kerr into it. Me and Davidson will do it and see. We'll slightly touch on it and see what happens if we have the time. But I think that with that being said, he can be in that range. But to be the guy that is literally having, 7, 8-year-olds pulling up from half court now, he's making a huge legacy. There's any guy that we talk about should be the NBA logo, I think he should be in consideration when he's done. Right now, he's just making a huge impact. Yes, they win, some titles with Kevin Durant, but they won some prior. They were that team was still very good and held even great prior to him getting there. So I just feel like Steph is a unanimous MVP, 2-time and 1 unanimous. How old is he right now? 31, 32?
Oh, he's about 34.
Oh yeah, so he's in that range. So for me, he's playing at this elite level still, and I think it'll continue to happen. And because of how he plays, it's not like a guy that is a dunker, right? He's a thrasher. Like, he's always dunking in. He gets older, now he has to change his game up. Like, I really don't too much see that, in his game right now. I think that'll age a little bit longer, a little bit later. So, for me, his legacy is he's one of the greatest of all time. I'm just trying to see if I can fit him in my top 10 right now. And it'll literally take me time to sit and look. Now, this means top 10 of all time, not top 10 that we've seen. Top 10 of all time. So, I just feel like, his legacy is already there. It can only get better, man, to be honest with you. And it will.
I think, we're all said and done. Top 10 all time. He has to be really considerate of that, along with some other greats. And you say you want to do a top 10 list next week?
Yeah, I mean, we can, it's going to take us some time to actually put that 10 together, take somebody in, put somebody out. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. I hope some of the fans listening, y'all, message us y'all top 10 lists, and we can talk about it. But yeah, next week.
So we'll do this next week. With Steph Curry winning his 4th NBA championship, we'll give y'all to next week, next Sunday, 7 o'clock Central, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Y'all's top 10 greatest NBA players of all time. So we'll give y'all a week. Let it marinate. Y'all got a lot of names to consider there. So let it think, let it marinate, and we'll discuss next week. For me, I think he's into that conversation. I had to sit down and see who he kind of clipped down. I said, hey, don't nobody in the chat, don't put your top 10 lists in here. Just save it for next week. We had that good discussion next week. But anyways, he is really into that conversation. Especially in this day and age, in this day in basketball, the influence he has. Yes, you brought up the young kids, trying to shoot like him. That drives me freaking nuts as a person that coach young kids. But you can't deny his influence. You can't deny his marketability, his crossover appeal. He has really, since his time at Davidson, really rose up the ranks. Now, everybody always kind of want to bring up, well, what if he got drafted by Minnesota? Well, what if he fell to the New York Knicks? Who knows? He could have had the same success. or he could have, floundered. But those things didn't happen. He wound up in Golden State. Got to a little slow start with the ankle injuries and stuff like that, but then he put those behind him, and look where we're at right now, cementing his legacy, winning championships against the Cavaliers and the Celtics. So his legacy is set in stone. First ballot Hall of Famer to go along with his cohort, Klay Thompson, Steve Kerr as a coach down the line, and don't know about Draymond being in the Hall of Fame, but knowing how some of these folks vote, that he could sneak in.
Yeah, this is not the NFL Hall of Fame, so we might be looking at another person part of that crew that might get in.
I think D-Lock, he has such an influence with that organization, with that team, that I think he'll get in by this on name recognition alone. Yes, I mean, a all NBA defensive player, a multiple time champion, an Olympian, great college career. So, strength of that, he'll get in. I'm not saying he's deserving. The numbers don't add up, but some folks probably look past that and put him in. And whenever the time he retires, him being in the media will probably, shine a different light with him that could get him earlier than expected.
I think that's one thing that's going to play a huge part as well. I'm pretty sure everybody's been seeing how he's been tweeting, the stuff that he's been saying. Um, you know, coming back with the. Did you see that tweet he had with that shirt, that Boston Celtics shirt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, to be honest with you, I picture him kind of similar to like a Dennis Rodman in today's day. So for me, I think that he's going to play a huge piece. But at the end of the day, this team is a well put together team. I feel like Steve Kerr has done a hell of a job there with them. But also, it just we were looking at. I think I told you I was like, man, I believe this might be Boston's year after they swept the Nets. I just felt like it was. They were playing because remember what I said last. I was talking about it for years ago on the show. I said, well, the problem with Boston is they just don't know who their key guy is. One day Jaylen Brown go off, next day Marcus Smart have a decent game, then Jason Tatum, then this person, then that person. Well, this year that wasn't the case. It seemed like the team ran through a Jason Tatum, and it looked good for the most part actually looked good all the way up until the NBA Finals actually. Because now going through Jason Tatum, we didn't really see a lot of Jason Tatum. And it's because the Warriors played that defense, had a huge impact. Now, I believe that after game one, our 4 for 6 for 8 thing, I believe Jason Tatum had 13 assists, didn't have that many points. They won that game. I was expecting Boston to possibly have a great chance of winning this. And the Warriors made their adjustments. I believe they started to have Otto Porter start game 3, I believe it was.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that small adjustment, now it comes down to those small coaching changes, played a big difference. But we talked about the Warriors having a hell of a season. Congrats to them on the NBA Finals. But also, even though the Celtics didn't finish off with the title, I feel like they had a hell of a season. This team was totally different than the teams under Brad Stevens. So it. I feel like this is a probably the best year for them to go, but I believe next year is going to be hell for anybody trying to come out the East. It's going to be a hell of a lot harder than it was this year. But to be honest with you, I feel like that was a great way to end the NBA season. Wishing, obviously, it was a game 7, but to finish off with Steph winning the Finals MVP, seeing Klay Thompson come back and have decent amount of games to help them win the title. Hell, Draymond this dude, like he just played basketball like he's a linebacker. I tweeted a couple of days ago, like, yes, this dude plays. He just reminds me of like a Khalil Mack, like a Ray Lewis type. Like this dude was just like a bull in a china shop. That's how he played, and it's bad and good for the game. But he makes a pretty decent impact on them for the most part, I believe. I mean, we see a lot of times have technical fouls, a couple of, like I said, throwing it. He reminds me of Draymond. Reminds me. Remember playing NBA Jam when you would grab that board and your guy would just be throwing the elbows for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they made like that's Draymond. Like that's what he kind of reminds me of, that type of player. So I'm trying to say, I think the Warriors need that type of player on their team. The NBA needs a player like that. So to end on that note, to have, like I said, Steph winning NBA Finals MVP, Klay Thompson come back, and Draymond, and then on top of that, a number 1 overall pick by the name of Andrew Wiggins plays a hell of a series. That's good for the NBA. That's great for the NBA. Now, we just need to see all these other. I would love to see what happens when the Lakers come back. Please, let Anthony Davis find a way to be healthy throughout the season. But it was a great season, man. And I'm already looking forward to what next season brings already.
I want to turn my attention to the Boston side of things real quick. Boston have a hell of a run. We talked about on the show. Once they kind of figured things out, they were on and rolling. Got to the playoffs, like I alluded to earlier, shouldn't struggle. Well, mainly, I think Miami, they shouldn't struggle with them with all the injuries and stuff like that. They let them hang around a little too long. Get to the finals. There were times that they should have took advantage of this Warriors team. Klay Thompson ain't the defensive player that he once was. The injuries has really zapped his mobility in a sense. And Curry is the world's best defender to start with, and Draymond really doesn't give them nothing on offense. So they really didn't take advantage of that in my eyes, and look where we're at right now. And plus, you brought up Tatum and Brown. It's like people we want to anoint him, Jason Tatum, but he ain't there yet. He ain't there yet. Maybe next year, but he ain't there yet. I think this team needs like a true point guard. Marcus Smart is not a point guard. I think he's more of a 2 guard, or especially your first guard off the bench. who can come in and do some point guard duty, but you don't want him handling a raw 35 minutes a game a night. That's not his speed. That's really not his speed.
Well, for me, we watch basketball for the longest. We don't watch just NBA, we watch college, high school, hell. I remember seeing Marcus Smart at Oklahoma State.
Yep.
And even then, he wasn't a true point guard.
Yep.
That's not a knock towards him, clearly, because he was a defensive player of the year. But he never was a true point guard.
Yep.
So this is no news. Like, this is not anything new. Like, we knew what type of player Marcus Smart was. Like, granted, I feel like he's a hell of a player. He wasn't a big shooter like that. He was a hell of a defender at Oklahoma State. I believe they went to the tournament while he was there. But that never was him. And this is the reason why I said last year, well, hell, you have to figure out who, over the past few years, or who's going to go off of Boston. Like, it just seems like they're confused of who's going to do what. It seemed like Marcus Smart, clearly not being that true point guard, ran against a team that needed a true point guard. I mean, ran against a team that had a true point guard, and where the Celtics really needed a true point guard. They played against, and we know what the hell Kyle Lowry is.
Yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily, help anything. They got all the guards over there in Miami, so it kind of hides what Kyle Lowry has not been for them. We know the situation in Brooklyn. Granted, I feel like we talked about it. In fact, Chris Middleton doesn't play. I do think that Boston maybe benefits from that.
Yeah.
What we're seeing from Marcus Smart has not been anything different than what we've seen him since he got to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So this notion that he's supposed to be this all of a sudden different type of, he gets known as defensive player of the year, and people think that he's just supposed to just turn into a totally different player, and he's not. He might be. He, like you said, I think moving forward, you tell me what your thoughts are. They need to let Jaylen Brown run the point guard position. Have Marcus Smart come off the bench.
You said Jaylen Brown?
Yeah. Don't like it?
Nah.
It depends on who they draft too, because you have to have Marcus Smart. He's gonna make a bigger impact off the bench.
I definitely agree.
Is now you just have to put your pieces together. Now, granted, I believe the offense runs through Tatum. Cool, got it. But now you have to put your pieces around to where your offense can move smoothly, because that's what we did not see during the finals. When they needed to go on a run against the Warriors, they couldn't get it done. They go down there trying to get a shot, they miss. What the Warriors go do? Go back and get a three. Boom. Now they up 6. Try to get scored. No, boom. Now they up 8. So they need somebody to facilitate that offense. They need a true point guard. Now there's a couple guys out there that they can look into, but Marcus Smart, I think he plays a key piece on this team, just not at the point guard position, not the starting point guard position.
I'm looking, and Boston has they traded their first round pick for Derek Wright, and the next pick after that is number 53 in the second round. Not a bad area. Get somebody quality there. They traded away Dennis Schroeder around the trade deadline a little bit beforehand. Just wondering, if they kept him around with things turnover wise or and ball handling wise, will things shake out different for them? Because you can run Schroeder and Marcus Smart together. You can. And have Brown and Tatum out there, and then whoever you want at center. You know, between Robert Williams or Al Horford. I kind of wondered that at times. Like, damn, they signed Dennis Schroeder for peanuts. Then they traded him for Daniel Tice, who's, okay, I mean, good for a depth piece, but I mean, you know, as the playoffs went on, his playing time went away. I was thinking, like, Derek White, he's okay in spurts. He couldn't play. He can't play a lick of defense. He couldn't stay up front of guys like Otto Porter and drive it to the lane. So I kind of wonder, like, damn, did they give up too early on Dennis Schroeder for like a damn and trade for him for a damn Tice? A big man like that, you can find guys like that in the G League for cheap. No shade to Daniel Tice, but I'm just saying, you can find a guy like that for cheap in the G League.
Yes, that. Yes, and I agree with you. They could have found somebody. And another thing too, what the hell did Daniel Tice really do with Robert Williams when Robert Williams wasn't hurt?
I mean, I think he had one decent game. That's all I can.
Yeah, that's it. So for me, you know, that played a huge piece as well. I just, again, I think Boston were kind of trying to find, you know, what they were looking for. But Dennis don't play no damn defense. We know that when he was in LA. You want to go get a Derek White who's gonna play some decent defense. Nah, I think they gave that first round pick they should have gave up him, which is too much. I wouldn't have given the first round pick for Derek White.
Nah.
But like moving forward, they have to make their adjustment. John Wall. Is there any possible way they try to move for him?
Ooh.
And are you in any trade? Are you willing to give up Marcus Smart?
Let's see. Tatum and Brown extensions are kicking in, I think, next season. I have to look. Let me look at the numbers real quick. Go.
Either way, you have your base with Boston. So, you know, like I said, you have to make some considerations. Wall could be one of them.
Yeah, Tatum's contract kicker kicks in next year. Al Horford gets paid $27 million next year. Brown $26. Smart at 19. Derek White. Damn, he can pay $17 million. Damn. Derek White making $17 million.
That's what I'm saying. And you gave up a first round pick for that.
Damn. I'll package up Derek White. Send back Daniel Tice back to Houston. Maybe I'll give up Peyton Pritchard. You can find little guards like that anywhere. I say give up a first round pick. I tell Houston, here you go. If you don't like it, we're giving y'all a first round pick. That's what y'all desire. We'll give y'all one. If you don't like it, so be it. But I think like if for your example, I think more pressure for Houston to do a deal because if you do nothing, give him a John Wall and have him sit again, in which I think the players association will get involved at that point. Then you let this dude sit out again. You get no compensation for him. You get no play out of him to maybe get more compensation out of a certain team or whatever. You just let the dude wallow away, chilling in Houston.
Correct.
And I'm trying to look at free agent guards. Let's see. Go. John Wall, Russell Westbrook can become free agents if they and Kyrie become, free decline their player options, which I don't think none of them will do. So you scratch those three off the list. You got Ricky Rubio, torn ACL, was having a hell of a season for Cleveland before he got hurt. Probably would have been an all-star.
Damn sure was.
Would have been an all-star in my eyes if he didn't get hurt. That's somebody Boston could target. Tyus Jones had a good backup role for Memphis. That's somebody to keep an eye on. Now, Dennis Schroeder, he's a free agent. Do you try and pick him up again? Maybe, maybe not. Just kind of looking down the list. Corey Joseph, he has a player option as well, but I think he'll probably opt into that. Rajon Rondo, he's a free agent. Maybe somebody look right there. So, just some of those names that are available right there. But I think top one, if you can find the right money, Ricky Rubio will be a good ad for the Celtics. Guy don't turn the ball over much. Big guard, 6'4". You just got to see how the ACL is. But if that's good to go, then that'd be a hell of a coup for Boston.
Would you start him though?
If he's good to go, yeah. If he's good to go. If he's good to go, yeah, put him in the lineup, move Marcus Smart to the bench, and you have him along with like Grant Williams, Daniel Tice, Derek White. Derek White. Come off the bench. I think you looking good right there. Whoever else you want to pick up veteran wise, because if you look at this finals run, especially during the finals, I think the only guys that were going deep on the bench for was Derek White and Grant Williams. If we're being real about that, and Peyton Pritchard here and there. Hell, Dan Tyson didn't get to play last game, so.
Nope. So that trade, that what they did for him was worth nothing.
No, not real. Not in a sense. No, not really. So, for me, for Boston, I think the main thing though is the consistency between Tatum and Brown. I think I kind of realized this. Not one guy gotta be the top dog. As long as y'all both equal, both y'all dominate, at least average about 22 points apiece through the year, I think they'll go great for this team. because I think we're seeing this run. Not like one guy does certain things better than the other, but I think they both complement each other in a sense. So I think that's the main thing for Boston. Don't try to force feed, one guy better than the other. Just think, just have those two guys like, you know, if I had to try to find the right superhero analogy, I can't think of one right now. But let those two guys be the best they can be. I use a wrestling term, maybe. Okay, I use a wrestling tag team in a sense. The World Warriors, one of the best tag teams of all time, best duos of all time. Both have different strengths to them. Animal, more the bigger, the stronger of the group. The powerhouse, Hawk. I mean, strong as hell as well, but has a little bit more agility and whatnot. But they both complement each other. That's what I'm trying to get at. And I think these two guys, especially on the wing, could complement each other a lot. And take advantage of your mismatches. That's one thing that kind of drove me nuts in this finals matchup with Boston. Not take advantage of their matchups. Use the screener rolls and whatnot. Get the switches off. And like I said, Golden State can't play defense like that. Take advantage of that crap. Take advantage of Steph on the switch and whatnot. Take advantage of Klay Thompson on the switch. Klay Thompson still trying to get his feet wet playing ball. Go at his behind. Really test his damn leg and see how he is. Jordan Poole, still wet behind his ears. Take advantage of that. Gary Payton, I know he's pretty solid defensively, but hell, there's a reason why he's been bouncing around for years. I don't know if you know this, D-Lock, but in basketball, there's a saying: if you come in as a solid defensive hand and whatnot, you have a good shot making the squad. Not a guarantee, but if you are like a very good defensive player, it can go a long way for you making the team. And you always can come back, always come in, work on your offensive game and be more contributor that way. But if you're solid defensively, there's a place for you. With the league how it is, and how Gary Payton plays defense, you figure you'll stick around at certain places. Take advantage of that, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. That's all I'm saying, D-Lock.
Well, I mean, I feel like what you're saying is correct. The Celtics, we've seen this Celtics team. Remember, we've been watching this whole NBA, but we see the Celtics team for the past couple of years. They're young. They got the pieces. We said that, and we always wondered, well, what is it? So they start to get things together, and you know what? I admit it, even on the show now. Maybe the same thing I thought about Memphis, as far as being too young. Didn't trust them to get there. It's probably the same thing with Boston. Maybe the moment was just a little too big for Jason Tatum at that moment. Now, granted, we understand that happened. Well, how old is Tatum? 24, I believe? 25 at the highest?
Mm-hmm.
Every great player has been through it. Magic Johnson went through it. Michael Jordan been through it. So there's many great players that had to go through maybe getting to the NBA Finals. Hell, I think LeBron got swept his first NBA Finals against the Spurs. So players are going to go through what we call adversity.
you're there. You have the chance to be there. It's just at the tip of your tongue. You're close to it. Now you have to start to be more into those smaller things. I feel like Jaylen Brown played a hell of a game the last game, in my opinion. But I feel like what hurt the Celtics really was Jason Tatum just wasn't there throughout the whole series. And that has to change. More so trying to get a lot of people involved. Trying to get all of the players involved. I feel like at that moment, maybe he comes back, next year or following year or years moving forward to where he says, hey, I need to take over. I'm not want to get all these other guys involved, such and such, but I'm the captain of this ship right now. And this team goes as I go. Both defense and offense. Because we see the pieces there. We see what they can do. Hell, remember, we seen in the beginning of the season, I believe they played the Knicks. I think it was the first game of the season. That game was high scoring as hell. And we seen what this team had. So now, we have to take that next step forward. And some guys just automatically do it. I guess you put Luke in a similar situation. Hell, Luke is going to shoot the ball 50 times before he passes anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's more so the people he got around, but he has a few pieces. But you put Luke in the same situation, I feel like the mentality that he has may have a different impact on the series. So that mentality needs to pick up within a Jason Tatum. You mentioned earlier that he's just not there yet. I think the reason why he isn't yet is the mentality. And we're not just talking about, okay, well, you need to shoot the ball 25 times instead of 17 or 25 times instead of 10. We're talking about be aggressive on both ends, both defense and offense. We talk about what Kobe did on offense all the time, making a big impact. But he also played hell of a defense as well. So, hell, one of the greatest moments for Michael Jordan is when he stripped the ball from Karl Malone. Not the defensive side of the scoring. Not the offensive side of scoring, but stripping the ball from Karl Malone in a key moment that they needed in that series against the Utah Jazz. So, I feel like this is a great experience for Boston. I just feel like now you've gotten there, right? Now you know what you need to do. We see what Giannis did last year. When the team needed him to step up, what happened? He took over the game. Yes. He has one of the greatest, watch this, he has not one of the greatest offense, not just one of the greatest offense performances, but he has one of the greatest blocks of all time in the NBA Finals. So it's both sides of the court, and I feel like that is what is going to be needed from Jason Tatum. So for me, again, great experience, but that mentality has to kick in. And once it does, I feel like the Celtics are going to be hard to stop. But I'm here to say now, it ain't gonna be as rough as this ride was to get there. Next year's gonna be even rougher, especially for the East. I feel like it's gonna be, some tougher teams. Hell, I'm hoping my Orlando Magic got something to do with it. That's just me dreaming. But the East is gonna be tougher. And clearly the West is gonna be what the West is, but that mentality has to pick up and wants to do. I think the Celtics will be all right, but young team got there. Try to make if you get a chance to get back. Let's try to change that mentality just slightly a little bit.
Yeah, and we'll just leave it on that note. And I think Boston will be all right. I think Dakota has a very great head on his shoulders and will kind of keep at these guys. And I think they really bought in what he was saying. And I think, his first year in, they took what he said, and now and now they're applying it, and then they made it run to the finals, and they're like, oh, okay, we got here, we got close. We'll see if we can do that again. Come next year. And the transition, D-Lock, talking about next year, Kenny Atkinson agreed in terms to be the new Hornets head coach. This like last week. Now he has done a 180 and decided to stick with the Warriors. So Steve Kerr keeps one of his assistants, Mike Brown, is off to the Sacramento Kings. And Kenny Atkinson, who was in the running for the Lakers job, didn't get that. Was in the running for the Charlotte job, got the job, but decides to do 180. Who does Charlotte target from here? I know Terry Stotts and Mike D'Antoni were also in the running. But do they look at one of those two guys, or do they look elsewhere in your eyes?
It might be in a situation where, like you said, Mike D'Antoni, Terry Stotts. Depends on what Michael Jordan is wanting. Now it was a shocker the fact that how in the hell you take a job and then you renege on the job later on after 15 win championship. That just blows my mind. But I think that Mike D'Antoni is the one that is going to be there. And if so, I'm going to say it now. But LaMelo's going to have a hell of a season. Because we know what type of offense that Mike D'Antoni runs. Him and Terry Rozier if Terry Rozier makes it, they might have a hell of a great season. But I think Mike D'Antoni is probably the top guy. There's a couple other guys that might, shock and be put in there as options. But Terry Stotts, I already told you how I feel about him. No team need to be considering his ass at all right now. But teams will. But Mike D'Antoni would be, I would think, the lead. But you got to get somebody for that young team, man. I mean, that's another team that has a lot of talent. They have a hell of a lot of talent. What do you do with Trey's Harrell? Is he a free agent, man?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a free agent. Don't worry about him. You got a couple pieces over there. P.J. Washington, LaMelo, Terry Rozier, a couple other guys. So I think they need the right coach to lead the charge. And then we're talking about the East. So the East is not as deep as the West, in my opinion. But I think D'Antoni could do wonders. Now, I could throw another name out there that nobody's probably wondering right now. And he might try to throw his name in the hat. You already know what I'm about to say. It's LeVar Ball.
Michael won't let that happen.
I had to tell him on Father's Day. But I think D'Antoni is the guy that probably fits the best. Michael Jordan now, in a sense, is scrambling now, right? You already had a guy. He agreed to be the coach. You thought you were good. Then he backs out. So now your other candidates who you probably decided not to go with, that take reconsideration in different ways. Some of them may not enter the job again. So we'll see. I mean, but I definitely, if there was any rivalry, even though there wasn't, I'm pretty sure any games that the Warriors and the Hornets play, definitely going to be circling their calendar.
Real quick for me, you can agree, disagree that Kenny Atkinson may have got holes in his position with the Nets. Granted, he didn't coach KD and Kyrie much, but he didn't leave in the best of terms. I thought this job would be a good place for him. You get a young all-star in LaMelo Ball, for starters. You got good young talent like P.J. Washington and Boatwright, and Miles Bridges. So you got at least a decent core there. You know, to return to the Warriors, I mean, why not? In a sense that you got one of the best jobs in the NBA, maybe in basketball, being an assistant coach there, consistent winning, great area, and whatnot. But is there something like underneath all that deal like that we don't know about? Steve Kerr is a guy, you know, kind of just like he does his own thing, kind of, you know, if he has enough at a certain position, he'll like peace out. Does Steve Kerr does this like 4 more year and then turn the reins over to Kenny Atkinson? That's something to consider. You know, some of these older Warriors are kind of long in the tooth. Not long in the tooth, but they up there in that middle 30s. Curry's 34. Klay Thompson, 33 with 2 leg injuries. Draymond, he's 32, 33. And he's getting older. Then after that, you got a whole bunch of young guys. And Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody, Poole. Does Steve Kerr want to do coach the young kids? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that's why he kept Keenan in the fold to kind of coach his young kids. But it'd be really interesting to see who Charlotte targets. I hate that Terry Stotts and Mike D'Antoni may get the job. And you know, I talked about in the past about retreads. I can't stand retreads. You know, in college, in the pros, high school, a little different story because sometimes you go through some BS at certain schools and things don't work out or whatever. I just think in high school you gotta find the right spot. But college and pros, retreads, I can't stand them. D'Antoni been coached multiple places. Damn near 70 years old. Either be assistant coach or just go be a commentator somewhere. Terry Scott, same thing. Just go be an assistant coach or go coach college ball. Because the pros haven't really worked out well for you, Terry Scott. Go coach college ball. Go coach UMKC or somewhere. I don't know. Just go coach somewhere.
He needs to do what we see a lot of former football assistants do and go to Nick Saban. And then they sit under there and they learn for a little bit, then they go coach somewhere else. I think we need to see Terry Scott do something very similar. He needs to go somewhere. Hell, take his ass over to Steve Kerr. It looks like they're going to be one of the teams to watch out for years to come. Go over there, you know, learn stuff. Because Mike Brown was leaving too, right?
Yeah, Mike Brown was leaving, yep.
So they're going to be assistant jobs open. Find your connections. Go over there, you know, build a resume. Maybe learn. Try to make your own adjustments. Because more than likely what you're doing as an assistant, I think we both know this as coaches ourselves, you're going to assist, but you're kind of making your own way of coaching. You know, you're adding in a few things, maybe taking out a few things. So, you know, go somewhere, add a few things, and subtract a few things from your coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Then, look at all these other coaching jobs, coaching opportunities, because, dude, I don't want to go back to the past, but Dame Lillard and C.D. McCollum and Yusuf Nurkic on the same team, there ain't no way in hell that team should not be contending for an NBA Finals appearance every year. There's just no way. I don't care where it's at. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion. Um, Not hurting for money. So that's just something that I definitely suggest.
So we'll see who ends up with the job. I hope that like a never fresh face gets interviewed and that fresh face gets the job. Woo! Be like the NBA draft is this Thursday. 7 Eastern. A lot of chatter who will be the first round pick, first overall pick. We discussed that a little bit last week. I'll let you have the floor on this. And your bold prediction. I know you said it last week, but you probably have some time to think about it and look at these prospects a little bit more. Who do the Magic go number 1 overall this upcoming Thursday?
Right now, it seems like it's going to be Chet. He's a piece right now that you just, for one, I've talked about this multiple times. It's not just the player that's at the franchise. It's more so about the franchise that the player is at and that drafts him, whether it's the NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA, anything. The franchise has to build around the player. They have to help the player be successful. Now, the player has a huge part as well, but if the franchise is not being patient to want to make sure that the player is successful, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. No matter who the hell you draft, number 1. So for me, I feel like they're going to go with Chet. It's the bold prediction there. But my thing is, what are you going to do to build around him? Right now, I'm not sure if you've seen. I think I sent it to you, Davidson. Terrence Ross is on the trade block. And this is one of your shooters, right? This is one of the guys that you have come off the bench, gives you that energy off the bench. But you did have a pretty decent trade last year, Cole Anthony. You also got Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs. You're full with guards. Gary Harris, R.J. Hampton. You're fine. So now, if you're willing to move with Terrence Ross, there's other pieces that you possibly need to move to build around what you have and what you're going to draft. Mo Bamba is a free agent. I seen some crazy shit this past week about how there is some type of reason that they're trying to say, well, the Magic may need to re-sign Mo Bamba. If that happens, me and the Magic, we gonna have a little conversation. Because right now, Obama just did not work out for us at that time. SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, went to Oklahoma City after we drafted Obama, and look what kind of player that they have. And we needed a guard then. So for me, this franchise needs to make sure that they do what is best for number one overall pick, which I believe is going to be Chet. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. Okay, we've seen Wiseman just win a championship with the Warriors, but look who the hell they had over there, and he hasn't even got on the court yet, which means the Warriors are going to be scary for years to come. So for me, get Chet, go Paolo, you go to Drill Smith, whichever. It's more so about the Orlando Magic building around their player and trusting the impact that he can make, not only for 2 or 3 years, but for years to come. You don't need any guards right now. Hell, you don't need a forward either, with Franz Wagner playing, making all-rookie team. Chuma is going to be great, I believe. I think he's going to be really, really good, a really good defender, really great defender, I'm sorry. Jalen Suggs is going to be outstanding, as we know. Cole Anthony. The question is what you do with Markelle Fultz. I say you find a way to trade Jonathan Isaac Markel Fultz to get rid of those contracts that you stupidly extended them for before the season ended, and while both were hurt. And you grab a check. Wendell Carter's going to be, you can bump him down to the 4. But you need to put together a team that can grow for years. We're talking about the Warriors winning the championship. They put that team together. Right, that team was put together. And over years, look what they have become. Not granted, one piece that's there that they didn't draft, Andre Iguodala. I believe the first year they won, Leandro Barbosa was there, correct?
Yes, he was.
Yes. But the main pieces of Steph, Clay, and Draymond were. Their draft pieces. So, to even think to be in a role to be a playoff contender, there's things that you have to do for years down the road. And the biggest thing that they can be is patient. And they need to be. So hopefully, we make the right decision. Not only will we draft, I feel like we have to build around. We talked about this before. You said, well, I think in the past, the Magic have had great success drafting number 1 overall, which they have. But what happens is, through those number 1 picks, 5 to 6, between 5 and 7 years after drafting them, they leave or want to leave. And one of them, Shaq himself, went to a championship somewhere else. So for me, and Dwight Howard, but that's later on down in his career. But for me, I feel like we need to think they're going to get checked, but it's not even about who we draft. It's about when we do draft, who we do. I want them to be able to build around and be patient and understand this is a process. We've seen Joel Embiid say it the longest. Much as I'm not a fan of Philadelphia 76ers, I don't think they're going to the NBA Finals. The fact is, they have an MVP player on their roster. As long as they have him, they will be in contention. The Magic have not been in contention since Dwight left. So, for me, take this pick serious, but also don't look at it as a 1 to 3 year project. And that's not only the player, but that's also the coaches. That's also the players that you surround them around. Be patient and understand what's going to happen with this. So, all in all, I think it's going to be checked. Hopefully, we build around him. That's what I want us to do.
I think for the Magic, like you alluded to, if they lean towards Holmgren, then you can't bring back Mo Bamba because you'd be stunting his growth if you draft Holmgren and bring back Mo Bamba. That is not going to mix, and plus you didn't really give Mo Bamba the chance to be that franchise player when you drafted him 7th overall. And then you drafted for a center that was in the same draft class. So do not do that. If you draft a Chet Holmgren, you better hope John Isaac will come ready to play and is ready to go instead of trying to be these conservatives, talking black guy.
Yeah.
He better be ready to go. I don't care your political beliefs and whatnot, all that stuff. But come training camp, you better be ready. And not focusing on other stuff. If you focus on other stuff like that, D-Lock, as your favorite team, that ain't gonna go far for that franchise and for fans of that franchise. If he ain't focused, zeroed in, I don't care what his beliefs are, but he worried about other outside interests and stuff like that, you gotta move on for him. Folks, he seems like he's finally coming around and whatnot. We'll see if things do develop. But lucky for y'all, you got Suggs, Cole Anthony, R.J. Hampton, and Gary Harrison in the fold. So there's a good chance, like you mentioned, they could offload of him. So for the Magic, if you draft this kid number one, which it seems like they may be leaning towards that, do the right thing, build around him, get him in the right room, and just let him develop.
I think that right now, I feel like Porzingis is a hell of a player. And the thing about Porzingis, though, he cannot stay healthy. That's his biggest deal. He cannot stay healthy. And I feel like, with all the comparisons that we've see a lot of comparisons with Chet being very similar to Porzingis. And nobody likes that because Porzingis cannot stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, do we have a player that can stay healthy and give you that production or similar production? But it takes not just the player, it takes the franchise. And that's my biggest problem with the Orlando Magic is we have all this thing going. Orlando is a great place to visit. All these amusement parks go to, all these different things. So many different ways that they bring in money. Hell, we talked about it when they signed damn Robin Lopez. When we signed them, they had already said the man was going to be at Disney World. And he played an average of like a minute and a half a game all season long. So to sign him was clearly pointless in my mind. Maybe he came in to retire. Who knows? But the fact is, Orlando has already been known as the area to go and relax. And that has to change. So at some point, could we change that this year? Use that number one pick. Make the right decisions to build around this guy. Make sure he stays healthy. Now we have a different situation that we're looking at. And we're in the right conference. We're not in the West, where you clearly have to make a huge turnaround to be, within those top 4 or 5 teams. So hopefully, we can get this right. I'm already nervous, man, to be honest with you. I'm counting down, but I'm also counting down like, damn, this is going to be something interesting to talk about.
Before we head out, I look at other draft storylines. The debate at number one, that's the big one. Who moves up and whatnot. There's reports saying that Sacramento Kings may do want to trade down, or people asking about their pick for targeting Jaden Ivey. So that's another story to keep an eye on. Like who really wants to get out for him? The Cavaliers are looking to trade down. I mean, it's kind of surprising for them, for a team that trying to look right here. I'm sorry. Who really like staying around the lottery and whatnot, but they want to trade down as well. But I think I alluded to this in the past. I think a team that could make a sneaky good move to kind of really improve their team. I don't know if they want to go all the way at this, but the Memphis Grizzlies. They got 2 first-round picks. They got a glut of young guys on their roster. I don't know what Bradley Beal's status is going to be going to free agency. Does he re-sign with the Wizards? Well, I think it'd be a mistake for his career. I know he's trying to stick out for Porzingis, but still, dog. Like you just mentioned, he can't stay healthy. Bradley Beal may be one of the most prized people, coveted people in free agency this offseason. Memphis trade those 2 first-round picks to the Wizards. Maybe throw in Dillon Brooks. And maybe throw in Desmond Bane as well. Maybe you can make that work for Bradley Beal. And tell Bradley this, hey, you got John Morant, one of the best young players in the NBA. You got Jaren Jackson down low. Steven Adams in the fold. They probably get somebody to fill that 3 spot. But come to Memphis and we can win. We need you. You can probably put us over the top. That's one storyline right there. Like, which one of these teams in the draft D-Lock is like, we're kind of like one veteran way to kind of make a championship push. Miami, same boat. They got some contracts they can move to get a piece. Kyle Lowry, up there in age, has injury issues. They paid Duncan Robinson. They kind of jumped the gun on Duncan Robinson and paying him all that money.
I definitely see him getting moved.
Do they make like a trade both of those guys maybe for somebody else? Give up. And we have seen in the past that Miami's willing to give up draft picks or vice versa. Give it up for John Wall, Bradley Beal. I think that's one of the storylines to look forward to this NBA draft. Another one for me, Sheldon Sharp. One of the more intriguing prospects, like 6'6", 18-year-old kid who a lot of people had a lot of promise on. Where does he get drafted in the lottery? He reclassified, tried to play at Kentucky, but it didn't work out. Say he's gonna come back next year, play for Kentucky, but then decides against that and enter the draft. Where does he go in this first round? Oklahoma City, D-Lock. All the first round picks they have acquired over for the next few years. What did they do with their picks and whatnot? Do they draft Jarabi Smith if Holmgren goes 1? Do they run to the board, draft Smith, and just build through that way, and then use those draft picks if those guys come along like Smith, Alexander, and Giddey, and use those picks for a veteran? So you could look at potential dynasty down the road with that team. This a lot of questions. Atlanta, D-Lock. There's rumors of them looking at big men. Ruby Gobert, DeAndre Ayton, offering this the 16th pick. Get rid of
What to do with Capella?
and get rid of John Collins. Do those guys get moved? We already seen one move. Christian Wood going to the Mavericks. I love that move for the Mavericks. They needed someone down low offensively to kind of really help balance that offense.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell Houston was thinking. Unless they just try to get off that contract.
They're trying to get off that contract. They got a first round pick out of it. I think it's a win-win for both teams. Now, Dallas, okay, they got their big man. Okay, they got to trade for a big man. Awesome. Now, who else do you add to the fold? If you're Dallas, that's another intriguing prospect there. Terry Rodriguez brought up. So, can the Lakers get a big name in this offseason?
Hell no. They are unless they want to get rid of Russ, they can't get no big name. They can't do nothing.
Terry, me personally, if I was them, I would try to buy a second round pick somewhere. Watch how the second round falls and whatnot. Look who you brought in workouts and whatnot. I may sound like a homer for this, but Keon Ellis, wing player for Alabama. That Lakers had him in for a workout not too long ago. A 3-and-D type of guy. Can guard 4 positions. Can get up down the floor in that Nate Oates system. Be a perfect fit if the Lakers buy in the second round somewhere. Even undrafted. If that kid goes undrafted, that's one of the first things you got to pick up the phone there. To Russell Westbrook. I've seen other Laker fan sites, D-Lock, say, give up the 2027 first round pick to go along with Russ to get any trade. I don't necessarily agree with that. Here's my philosophy on that. 2027 is 5 years down the road. LeBron at that point will be in his 40s. Anthony Davis in his 30s, and God knows where his health will be at that point. So you got those two to factor. By 2027, Russell Westbrook will probably be long gone from the Lakers organization. Who you got after that? Nobody else down the line. In 2027, you got no big contracts that we know of. Unless they stupidly sign someone to a big deal. If I was the Lakers, Taryn, and D-Lock, or whoever's listening, do not trade that 2027 pick. Do not.
Nah, you might keep that.
Because
it's funny that you said. It's funny that you said that too.
Because I'm just looking down the line, 5 years down the road, and who knows how things are shaking out in basketball in the world then. That's like you at a place that you can do a good hard reset of things. LeBron probably gone, maybe retire by then. Anthony Davis, who knows with him. After that, nobody else will be there. By that time, new CBA will be agreed upon. And you got a clear slate in my eyes. Hit the reset and go about things the right way. Or, if you ain't going to go things about the right way and draft young players and whatnot, go that route, who God knows who's going to be in the free agency landscape come 2027. But, Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, guy like Deontay Murray, Jokic, whoever else down the line, Devin Booker, those guys be 5 years older and may be available down the line.
Well, somebody's going to go to LA. Regardless. It's just the Lakers. They're going to grab somebody.
Sure.
I feel like, with that being said, like, they're going to grab somebody to be part of their organization. So, for me, that pick is important. It's just the fact that I wouldn't trade it this year.
No.
Unless it's for like a Trae Young or something like that. You know it's gonna be a star for years. But I would wait, like you said, just because the fact is you don't know what's gonna happen come, in 2 or 3 years. You might be looking at a totally different situation by then. So for me, it would be smart to keep that trade and then or keep that pick, I'm sorry. And then go from there. But it's the Lakers, man. That's the thing that makes me kind of consider both ways. It's the Lakers. Like, they're gonna grab somebody. Somebody's gonna come to LA. It's just, who they grab. They're looking at a Luka in 5 years, maybe Trae Young. Hell, somebody that's not even drafted right now that's gonna make that impact. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. So we're talking about a 5 years. Like, that is a big, big difference. So I wouldn't trade it yet. Like I said, hell, unless it's like for Giannis or something like that. But I wouldn't move. I definitely wouldn't move that pick either. It'd been different if it was like next year's draft pick or something. Then okay, but 5 years from now, dude, like, it'd be a totally different league by then. A lot of players that we see right now, that's on the end of their prime, will be done. Especially like a LeBron or something like that.
Yeah, before we wrap this up, the trade pieces, the rumors that some of the names that could be in line for the Russell Westbrook trade, I wouldn't do. They got 2 packages from the Pacers and Hornets, like one for Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. And then for the Pacers side of things, Malcolm Brogdon and Buddy Hield. I'm not giving up my first round pick for a Malcolm Brogdon that's never stayed healthy in his NBA career. And matter of fact, let's see. let me pull this up. I really think about it. Looking right now, Malcolm Brogdon in his career, the most games he has played in one season, it was back in 2016-2017 season, 75 games. Other than that, next year with Milwaukee, 48 games. The year after that, 64. Trade signed with Indiana, 54 games, 56, and this past season, 36 games. That looked like similar to AD's games played over his career. And we know how bad everybody kind of had dogged Anthony Davis and his playing and his availability. Why do I want to trade for that? Why do I want to give up a future first round pick for that? And a Buddy Hield who's inconsistent at various times. And then you look at Charlotte's side of things. Gordon Hayward. I know the injury was bad. And he's not going to be right for the rest of his life. But I'm not giving up no first round pick for a one-legged Gordon Hayward. And a streaky shooter, Terry Rozier. I'm not. The only way I'll do these trades, throwing in that first round pick, if I'm getting second round picks back from these teams. That's the only way that will work. That's the only way that works. Or in 2027, we swap first round picks. Whoever has the worst record between us get the higher pick. Or whoever gets the higher pick, that person keeps it or whatnot. But if they're not getting anything back except those guys and no draft pick, especially second round picks, then cancel the trade, keep Russell Westbrook in the fold, and just go about your day. I'll let you have the last word.
I mean, at first, I was with trading Russ because of what he's done, how he's looked, but that to give up that pick so far from now, I wouldn't do. It wouldn't make any sense. So for me, I'm kind of with you there. Because there's so many players right now, young players, they're going to be different they're going to be, so much better than what we expect. And for me, you can see all those guys as options moving forward. So why give up that pick now when you could possibly use it in 2 years? But I feel like the Lakers are going to get, the Lakers are the Lakers. They're like the Cowboys. They're like the Yankees. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to get somebody. Somebody's going to come to LA. It doesn't take a LeBron to get to the Lakers for people to say, well, hell, let me just go to LA. Like, nah, that's not how it works. So, I just feel like that means that somebody's going to be there. Then if they give up that pick now, they'll regret it later.
And we'll leave
I'll say this though, before I'm done. I think the longer that Russ is there, the more of an issue it's going to be.
And I think that's the storyline. If he does keep around, how does Darvin Ham coach him up and whatnot? What will he do to kind of use him? Will be my curiosity there. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. We went 2 hours here tonight. So thank y'all for tuning in with us. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys find me at Black-813. We definitely will be talking about the draft coming up. So I will be tweeting about my Magic, hopefully making the right decision. Let them know where they can find you at, man, and tell them about the show. Twitter page.
Do follow the show on Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. Also, do follow IESportsRadio.com for all the latest news and show news and feeds, all that. When you go to IESportsRadio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one being $5 a month. That donation gets you a shout out for a shout out on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment on our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for contributing to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for our sports. Our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Rays, Marcus, Los, great. I know he's not happy by his Celtics losing. Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. So thank y'all very much for contributing on Patreon. Also, if you want to do a mock draft, NBA mock draft challenge, send that in to Mike Pat. These probably like Thursday morning at the earliest. Shout out to the chat tonight. Thank y'all for tuning in with us for this 2 hours here on our 100th episode. We love doing this with y'all. And hope we can do 100 more. Also, before I go, I do have a Twitter account. Follow me at Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288. I do another show on the side called The Crooks Process. And I did 3 episodes here lately. One talk about Jeff Hardy and his recent arrest and whatnot. I talk about the Alabama men's basketball team and the Tennessee Titans NBA NFL draft. And then I will do an episode about Vince McMahon and what's going on there at Titan Towers. So do look out for that episode down the line here soon. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be at here next week. Talk about NBA draft and analyze that. And talk about a little bit of free agency. So until then, we out.